My barber stopped mid-haircut and said, "Why do you have the same tattoo as the missing person poster on my window?" The name on the poster was mine. I hadn't recognized my own face. I froze in the chair, scissors still hovering over my head. The cape around my shoulder suddenly felt too tight, like it was strangling me. "What missing person poster?" I managed to ask, but Tony was already walking to the window of his shop. That little bell above the door jingling as he pushed it open slightly to grab the flyer taped to the glass outside. "This one," he said, bringing it back to me. "Missing guy named Jake Morrison. Same eagle tattoo on the left shoulder blade. Same scar through the wing from what I can see." My stomach dropped because my name was Jake Morrison and I definitely had that exact tattoo. The eagle with spread wings covering my left shoulder blade. The scar cutting through the right wing from when I'd gotten into a bar fight years ago and someone had slashed me with broken glass. At least I thought it had been years ago. Suddenly, I wasn't sure. "Tony, that's probably just a coincidence," I said, but my voice sounded shaky even to me. Lots of people have eagle tattoos. Tony wasn't buying it. He'd been cutting my hair for 2 years every month like clockwork, and he knew me well enough to see through he was shaking his head, studying my reflection in the mirror with an intensity I'd never seen before. "Jake, I've been cutting your hair for 2 years. I've never seen your full name anywhere until today. Never seen your ID, never heard your last name. You always just said Jake." He showed me his appointment book where my name was listed as just Jake in every monthly slot going back 24 months. And this poster says Jake Morrison went missing 3 months ago from Portland, Oregon. His family's offering a $10,000 reward. I twisted around in the chair to look at the poster more carefully. The photo was grainy, taken from a distance at what looked like some kind of outdoor event, but it definitely looked like me. Same build, same hair color, same general features. The physical description at the bottom matched perfectly too. "This has to be some mistake," I said. But even as the words came out, I felt a cold dread settling in my chest. Maybe there's another Jake Morrison with a similar tattoo. Tony pulled his phone out and did a quick search, then showed me the screen. There were multiple missing person websites, all showing the same photo, the same description, all saying I disappeared from Portland on March 15th. Today was June 18th, 3 months exactly. He looked at me carefully like he was trying to decide if I was dangerous or just confused. "Jake, where were you living before you moved here?" I tried to remember, but my memories before arriving in this town were surprisingly fuzzy, like looking through fog. "I came from the East Coast," I said automatically. But even as I said it, I wasn't completely sure if that was true. It felt true, but I couldn't picture specific places or remember specific addresses. Tony raised an eyebrow. "Been traveling around for work?" I opened my mouth to answer and realized I couldn't remember what I'd told him before about my job. "Construction," I said finally, but it felt like a guess. Tony sat down his scissors completely and sat in the barber chair next to mine, turning to face me directly. "Jake, this is serious. If this is you on this poster, your family thinks you're dead or kidnapped. There are people looking for you." He gestured at the phone number on the flyer. "There are cops investigating, private investigators probably, and here you are getting a haircut in a small town in Nevada like nothing's wrong." He pulled out his phone again. "Maybe we should call the number and clear this up." My heart started racing, pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Wait," I said, grabbing his wrist before he could dial. "Let me think about this first. If I call that number and it's not me, I'll be wasting everyone's time and probably getting myself on some watch list. And if it is me," I trailed off because I couldn't finish that thought. "If it was me, then I had no memory of having a family or disappearing from anywhere or being someone people were actively searching for." Tony sat back, still watching me. "Jake, when you first came to my shop 2 years ago, you paid cash. Said you were new in town, starting fresh. You didn't have much stuff, no car at first. Just walked everywhere until you saved up enough for that old pickup truck you drive now." He gestured toward the window where my rusty Ford was parked. "You got that job at Brennan's hardware store, found that little apartment above the pizza place. You never talked about where you came from or why you moved here. That seemed normal at the time. Lots of people come through here trying to start over. But now," he gestured at the poster again, "now it seems like maybe you were running from something, or maybe you really don't remember." I stared at my reflection in the mirror, trying to force myself to remember my life before this town. I had routines here, a small life, but a comfortable one. I worked at the hardware store 5 days a week, spent my evenings at the local bar playing pool, came to Tony's shop once a month for a haircut. But when I tried to think further back, everything got blurry and indistinct. "I think I might have been in an accident," I said slowly, the words feeling true as I spoke them. "Hit my head or something. My memory of the past few years is pretty foggy." "That would explain a lot," Tony said gently. "Head injuries can cause amnesia. I saw a documentary about it once. People can forget everything about their lives, even their own families, and just wander off and start new lives somewhere else without even realizing what they've done." He showed me the poster again, pointing at the text beneath my photo. Says, "Here, you have a wife named Emma and 2 kids, Sophie and Lucas, ages 7 and 5. They've been searching for you for 3 months." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. A wife named Emma, 2 kids I couldn't remember. People who loved me and thought I was dead or kidnapped or worse. I looked at my left hand and saw I wasn't wearing a wedding ring, but there was a pale band of skin on my ring finger like I'd worn one for years and recently taken it off. "Tony, what if I don't remember them. My hands were shaking now. What if I call this number and these strangers claim to be my family and I feel nothing? What if I've built a life here that I have to give up for a life I can't even remember? Tony stood up and walked to the front door, flipping his sign from open to closed and locking it. Jake, we need to figure this out properly. This isn't something you can ignore. Those kids deserve to know if their dad is alive. That wife deserves to know you're okay, even if you don't remember her. He was already pulling out his phone again. Let me call my brother-in-law. He's a cop here in town. Deputy Greg Williams. Good guy. He can help us contact the right people and make sure this gets handled safely and correctly. Wait, I said again, standing up from the chair, the cape still around my shoulders. What if I don't want to know? What if I left for a reason? What if there's something I was running from? Tony paused, his finger hovering over his phone. You mean like, what if you did something bad? Like, what if you're on the run? I shook my head. I don't know what I mean. I just know that my gut is screaming at me not to call anyone, not to draw attention to myself. And I don't know if that's because I have something to hide or because some part of my brain is trying to protect me from something. We stood there in silence for a moment, the only sound, the buzzing of the fluorescent lights overhead. Finally, Tony said quietly, if you really are this missing person, there might be reasons why you left that have nothing to do with memory loss. Maybe you had a breakdown. Maybe you were running from danger. Maybe your life in Portland was so bad you had to escape it. He looked at me seriously. But Jake, if that's true, don't you think you deserve to know what happened? Don't you deserve to understand your own life? He had a point. I nodded slowly and sat back down in the chair. Okay, call your brother-in-law, but I want to be the one to decide what happens next after we talk to him. Tony dialed and put the phone on speaker. After 3 rings, a man's voice answered. Greg Williams. Greg, it's Tony. I need you to come to the shop right away. It's important. There was a pause. Everything okay? You sound weird. Just come and bring your badge. It's police business. 20 minutes later, Officer Greg Williams walked into the barber shop. He was in his early 40s, tall and solid, with the kind of face that probably put people at ease during traffic stops. He looked at me sitting in the barber chair, then at Tony, then at the missing person poster Tony was holding. What's going on? Tony handed him the poster. This is my customer, Jake. He's been coming here for 2 years. Look at the poster. Look at him. It's the same guy. Officer Williams studied the poster carefully, then looked at me, his expression shifting from casual to serious. Son, I'm going to need to see some identification. I pulled out my wallet and handed him my driver's license. Nevada state license, issued 20 months ago. He looked at it for a long moment, then pulled out his own phone and made a call. Yeah, it's Williams. I need you to run a license for me. Nevada DL number. He read off my license number. We waited in tense silence while he listened to the response. His eyebrows shot up. You're sure about that? Okay. Yeah, I'll handle it. He ended the call and looked at me with a mixture of concern and confusion. This license was issued 20 months ago, which lines up with when Tony says you arrived in town. But according to DMV records, there's no previous license under your name in any state. No record of you having a license before 20 months ago. My chest tightened. What does that mean? It means either you never had a driver's license before you came here, which seems unlikely for a 32-year-old man, or he paused, choosing his words carefully, or you got this license under a name that might not actually be yours. The room felt like it was spinning. I remember getting that license. I went to the DMV, took the written test, did the driving test. They asked for my birth certificate and social security card. Officer Williams nodded slowly. Can I see those documents? I felt my stomach sink. They're at my apartment. At least I think they are. I haven't looked at them since I got the license. Jake, I'm going to need you to come down to the station. Not under arrest, he added quickly when he saw my expression, but I need to make some calls and we need to figure out what's going on here. Portland PD has an active missing persons case, and if you're this Jake Morrison, they need to know you're alive. We drove to the police station in Officer Williams' patrol car. Tony came too, following in his own vehicle. The small-town police station was quiet, just a couple of officers at desks and a dispatcher. Officer Williams led me to a small conference room and asked me to wait while he made calls. Through the window in the door, I could see him talking on the phone, his expression serious. Tony sat with me, not saying much, just being there. After about 30 minutes, Officer Williams came back with a notepad. Okay, I talked to Portland PD's missing persons unit. Jake Morrison, age 32, disappeared from his home in Portland on March 15th. Left his phone, wallet, keys, everything. No signs of foul play, but also no indication he planned to leave. His wife Emma reported him missing after 24 hours when he didn't come home from work. He looked at me. You match his physical description perfectly. 5'10", brown hair, hazel eyes, 170 lb, distinctive eagle tattoo on left shoulder blade with a scar through it. He flipped a page in his notepad. They're sending a detective down here to talk to you. Should arrive tomorrow afternoon. They also want to do fingerprints and DNA to confirm identity. What about his wife? I asked. Did you talk to her? Portland PD is contacting her now. Apparently it's been rough. The kids ask about their dad every day. She's had to keep working to support them, deal with all the social media posts and missing person searches, field calls from people claiming they've seen him. He looked at me seriously. If you are Jake Morrison, she's going to want to see you. They all will. Portland PD asked if you'd be willing to do a video call tonight so she can see you before driving all the way down here. The thought of meeting a wife I couldn't remember terrified me. What if she's a stranger to me? What if I look look at her and feel nothing? What if I don't recognize my own kids? Tony spoke up. Then you'll figure it out together. But Jake, if you really have a family that's been grieving for you for 3 months, they deserve to know you're alive. Even if your memory's gone, that's better than thinking you're dead. Officer Williams pulled out his laptop and set it up on the conference table. Portland PD wants to do this through a secure video call. Detective Hansen will be present along with Emma Morrison. They're ready whenever you are. I sat down at the table, my hands shaking. Okay, let's do it. The video call connected, and suddenly I was looking at a woman on the screen. She was maybe 30 with long brown hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing a plain t-shirt. Her face was drawn and exhausted with dark circles under her eyes. Behind her, I could see what looked like a kitchen and a man in a suit who must have been the detective. The woman, Emma, stared at the screen with her hand over her mouth. She wasn't crying, just staring like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Jake? Her voice came through the laptop speakers, shaky and uncertain. Is that really you? I didn't know what to say. She looked like a stranger to me. A nice stranger. Someone I might have helped carry groceries or held a door for, but not someone I loved. Not someone I'd build a life with. I don't know, I said honestly. I look like him apparently, but I don't remember you. I don't remember Portland. I don't remember anything before about 2 years ago. Emma let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. Oh my God, you're alive. I can't. I've been looking for you for 3 months. The police said you probably weren't coming back. They said after this long, the chances were she couldn't finish. The detective leaned into frame. Mr. Morrison, I'm Detective Paul Hansen with Portland PD. Can you tell us what you remember about the last 2 years? I explained everything as clearly as I could. Waking up in a hospital in Reno with no memory of how I got there. Being told I'd been found unconscious near the highway with no ID. Spending 3 days in the hospital before being discharged with just the clothes they'd given me and a voucher for a homeless shelter. Working odd jobs for cash until I saved enough for an apartment. Getting my documents somehow, though the memory of that was fuzzy. Building a simple life in this small Nevada town. Detective Hansen took notes the entire time. And you never tried to figure out who you were before? Never went to police. I went to a clinic once about the memory loss. They said I'd probably been in an accident, maybe hit my head. They did a scan, but didn't find anything alarming. Said my memories might come back on their own, or they might not. Told me to see a neurologist if I could afford it, but I couldn't, so I just moved on. Emma was crying now, tears streaming down her face. Jake, it's me. It's Emma. We've been married for 8 years. We have 2 kids. Sophie just lost her first tooth, and Lucas learned to ride his bike without training wheels. They ask about you every single day. I looked at her face on the screen, trying to feel something, trying to force some kind of recognition or emotional connection, but there was nothing. She was a stranger telling me about a life I couldn't remember. I'm sorry, I said quietly. I don't remember any of that. Detective Hansen leaned forward again. Mr. Morrison, we'd like you to come back to Portland so we can do a proper investigation. Figure out what happened, why you ended up in Nevada, whether there was foul play involved. We need medical examinations, psychiatric evaluations, the works. What if I don't want to come back? The question came out before I could stop it. Emma's face crumpled. What do you mean you don't want to come back? Jake, you have a family. You have a life here, a house, a job you were good at, friends, people who care about you. I have a life in Nevada too, I said. Maybe not as big or important, but it's mine. It's the only life I can actually remember. Officer Williams spoke up from beside me. Jake, you need medical help. Real help. Not just a free clinic that does a basic scan. Whatever happened to you, whether it was an accident or something else, you need specialists to figure it out. Detective Hansen added, we've already contacted a neurologist at Oregon Health and Science University, Dr. Patricia Kwan. She's one of the best in the country for traumatic amnesia cases. She's willing to see you immediately if you come back. I sat there torn between 2 impossible choices. Stay in Nevada with the simple life I understood, or go back to Portland to a family and a life I couldn't remember. Before I could answer, Emma spoke again, her voice breaking. Jake, please. The kids need you. I need you. Even if you don't remember us right now, we can help you remember. We can show you photos and videos. We can take you to places you loved. Please don't just abandon us again. The word again hit me hard. From her perspective, I'd already abandoned them once. Leaving again, even without meaning to, would be a second abandonment. Okay, I said finally. I'll come back, but I need some time to settle things here first. My job, my apartment, my stuff. Detective Hansen nodded. We understand. How much time do you need? A week. Let me give notice at work. Pack up my things. Figure out logistics. That's reasonable. I'll make arrangements for your travel. The department will cover your flight back to Portland. The video call ended with Emma saying she'd see me in a week, her face a mixture of hope and fear. Officer Williams closed the laptop and looked at me. You're doing the right thing, Jake, even if it's scary. I wasn't sure he was right, but it was done now. I spent the next week in a strange liminal space, preparing to leave the life I knew for one I didn't. I gave notice at Brennan's hardware store, and my boss Bill took it surprisingly well. Always knew you were passing through, he said. Most people are in a town this size. You need a reference letter for wherever you're going next. I explained about the amnesia, about being a missing person, about going back to a family I couldn't remember. Bill just nodded like it made perfect sense. Explains why you never talked about your past. Thought maybe you were in witness protection or something. He laughed, but there was kindness in it. You're a good worker, Jake, or whoever you are. That family of yours is lucky to get you back. I packed up my apartment above the pizza place. I didn't have much, just some clothes, a few books, kitchen supplies. Everything fit into 3 boxes and a duffel bag. 2 years of life condensed into almost nothing. The night before my flight, I went to the local bar one last time. The regulars I'd played pool with every week bought me rounds and wished me luck. Nobody seemed particularly surprised that I was leaving, or that I'd been living under mysterious circumstances. Small towns are weird that way, accepting of people's quirks and secrets. Tony came by my apartment the morning of my flight to drive me to the airport in Reno. We didn't talk much during the 2-hour drive. What was there to say? I was leaving the only life I could remember to go live with strangers who claimed to be my family. At the airport, Tony pulled my bag out of his trunk and gave me a firm handshake that turned into a hug. You call me if you need anything. Anything at all. I don't care what time it is or what's going on. I promised I would, though we both knew I probably wouldn't. The flight to Portland felt surreal. I'd never been on a plane before, at least not that I remembered. The cramped seats, the recycled air, the view of clouds through the window, it all felt new and slightly frightening. Detective Hansen met me at Portland International Airport. He was exactly what you'd picture a detective to look like. Mid-40s with graying hair, tired eyes, and a cheap suit. Mr. Morrison, I'm Paul Hansen. Welcome back to Portland, though I imagine it doesn't feel much like coming home. More like visiting a foreign country, I admitted. He drove me through the city, pointing out landmarks that meant nothing to me. That's where you worked. Morrison Construction Company. Your dad started it. You took it over 8 years ago. That's the grocery store Emma shops at. That's the elementary school Sophie and Lucas go to. None of it triggered any memories. It was just a city like any other city. Rain-slicked streets and coffee shops and people going about their lives. We pulled up to a house in a quiet suburban neighborhood. 2-story, pale blue with white trim, neat lawn, kids' bikes in the driveway. This is your house, Detective Hansen said. Emma's waiting inside with the kids. They're nervous, so try to be patient with them. I walked up the front path feeling like an imposter. This was someone else's house, someone else's life. But before I could knock, the door opened and Emma was there. She looked different in person than on the video call. Smaller, more real. And behind her were 2 kids peeking around her legs, a girl with brown pigtails and a gap in her front teeth, and a smaller boy with messy hair and a Batman shirt. They stared at me with wide eyes, uncertain. Hi, I said, which felt inadequate. Emma stepped forward and hugged me before I could react. She was crying again, clutching me like I might disappear if she let go. You're really here. You're really alive. The kids didn't move, just kept staring. I gently extracted myself from Emma's hug and knelt down to their level. Hi, Sophie. Hi, Lucas. I'm Jake. You're our dad, Sophie said. Not quite a question. Apparently I am, though I'm having some trouble remembering things right now. Lucas took a step forward, studying my face. Do you remember teaching me to ride my bike? I don't, but I'd love to hear about it. That seemed to satisfy him for the moment. We went inside the house that was supposedly mine, and I tried to take it all in without seeming like a stranger examining someone else's life. Photos on the walls of this family I was apparently part of. Living room furniture I'd supposedly picked out. A kitchen where I'd apparently cooked meals. Emma made coffee while the kids went to play in their room, still unsure how to act around me. I didn't change anything. Emma said, pouring coffee into mugs. After you disappeared, people told me I should pack up your things, move on, but I couldn't. I kept thinking you'd come back and want everything to be the same. She handed me a mug with "World's Best Dad" printed on it. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. Emma, I need you to understand something. I'm trying. I really am. But right now, you're a stranger to me. This house is a stranger's house. Those kids are strangers' kids. I don't feel like a husband or a father because I don't remember being those things. She nodded, tears in her eyes again. Detective Hansen warned me you might feel that way. Dr. Kwan said it's normal with this type of amnesia. When do I see this, Dr. Kwan? Tomorrow morning. She cleared her schedule for you. That night, Emma showed me to what was apparently our bedroom. I can sleep in the guest room if you want, she offered. That's probably better for now, I said, trying to be gentle about it. She nodded, disappointed, but understanding. I lay in a stranger's bed that night, looking at the ceiling of a stranger's room, listening to the sounds of a stranger's house. Somewhere down the hall, those kids were sleeping, kids who thought I was their father. The weight of it pressed down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. The next morning, Emma drove me to the hospital for my appointment with Dr. Kwan. The neurologist was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with short black hair and an efficient manner. She spent 3 hours examining me. Physical tests, cognitive tests, memory tests. She showed me photos from my supposed past and asked if I recognized anything. I didn't. She asked about dreams, about déjà vu, about any flickers of memory. There was nothing. Finally, she sat back and looked at me seriously. Jake, I'm going to be straight with you. What you're experiencing is called retrograde amnesia. It's rare to lose this much memory without corresponding brain damage, which we're not seeing on your scans. So what does that mean? It could mean the damage is too subtle for our scans to detect, or ... quote. She paused. Or it could be psychogenic, meaning your amnesia has a psychological cause rather than a physical one. You think I chose to forget? Not consciously, but if you experienced severe trauma, either physical or emotional, your brain might have essentially shut down your memories as a protective mechanism. It's called dissociative amnesia. amnesia. She pulled up some images on her computer. I want to do more tests, but I also think you should see a psychiatrist. Dr. Michael Brennan specializes in trauma and dissociative disorders. He might be able to help us understand why your brain locked away your memories. Over the next 2 weeks, I went to appointments with Dr. Kwan and Dr. Brennan, gave blood for tests, did scans, answered thousands of questions. Detective Hansen was investigating the timeline of my disappearance, trying to figure out what happened on March 15th and the days after. Emma tried to be patient, showing me photo albums and videos, telling me stories about our life together. The kids slowly warmed up to me, though they treated me more like a friendly uncle than their father. I was sitting in what was supposedly my home office when Detective Hansen came by with an update. "We found your truck," he said. Or rather, what's left of it. It was at the bottom of a ravine about 50 minutes outside Portland. Looks like it went off the road during a storm. Emma, who'd been listening from the doorway, went pale. Was there anyone in it? No, nobody. No sign of Jake, but there was blood on the steering wheel and dashboard. Not a lot, but enough to suggest he was injured. So I crashed my truck and wandered off injured. I asked. That would explain the memory loss. Detective Hansen nodded. That's one theory. But here's the weird part. The crash site is in the complete opposite direction from where you should have been going. You left work at Morrison Construction at 5 p.m. on March 15th. Your house is 15 minutes west of the office. The crash site is 2 hours east. Emma stepped into the room. Why would you have been driving east? There's nothing out that way except she trailed off, her expression changing. Except what? I asked. She looked at Detective Hansen, then at me. Except where your brother lives, where Austin lives. This was news to me. I have a brother. Emma nodded slowly. Austin Morrison. He's 2 years older than you. You two had a complicated relationship. You hadn't spoken to him in over a year when you disappeared. Detective Hansen pulled out his notepad. I've been trying to get in touch with Austin, but he's not returning my calls. According to his employer, he took a leave of absence right around the time you disappeared. Left town, destination unknown. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. You think my brother had something to do with this? I think it's suspicious that you were driving toward his house the day you disappeared, and he left town right after. I'd like to talk to him, but first I need to find him. Emma sat down heavily in the office chair. Austin always resented Jake. Their father left the company to Jake instead of splitting it between them. Austin thought he deserved half of everything. They fought about it constantly. I tried to process this information about a family conflict I couldn't remember. How much is the company worth? About $3 million, Emma said quietly. Your dad built it from nothing. When he died 5 years ago, he left it all to you because Austin had drug problems and Dad didn't trust him with it. But Austin got clean 2 years ago and thought Jake should give him half. Jake refused. Detective Hansen closed his notepad. I'm going to keep looking for Austin. In the meantime, Jake, I need you to think hard about March 15th. Is there anything? Any tiny fragment of memory from that day? I closed my eyes and really tried to remember, but there was nothing except that familiar fog. I'm sorry, it's all blank. Over the next few days, something strange started happening. I'd be doing normal things, grocery shopping or watching TV with the kids, and I'd suddenly feel this overwhelming sense of dread, not triggered by anything specific, just a wave of fear that would crash over me and leave me shaking. Dr. Brennan said it might be my subconscious trying to process traumatic memories that my conscious mind had blocked. He recommended hypnotherapy, which sounded like pseudoscience to me, but I was desperate for answers. The hypnotherapy session was in Dr. Brennan's office on a Thursday afternoon. He had me lie on a couch while he spoke in a calm, measured voice, guiding me into a relaxed state. I was skeptical it would work, but slowly I felt myself drifting into a strange, in-between state. Not quite asleep, but not fully awake either. Jake, I want you to think about March 15th. Where are you? I'm at work. The words came out of my mouth without me consciously deciding to say them. What are you doing at work? Finishing paperwork. Payroll for the crew. It's almost 5. What happens at 5? A long pause. I could see it in my mind now. Hazy, but there. My phone rings. It's Austin. What does Austin want? He says we need to talk. Says it's important. Says, if I don't come now, I'll regret it. My breathing was getting faster. Do you go to meet him? Yes. I tell Emma I have to run an errand. I get in my truck and drive east toward Austin's place. What happens when you get there? My hands clenched into fists. He's angry, drunk, maybe high. He's yelling about the company, about how I stole his inheritance. I try to calm him down, but he keeps yelling. Then what? He hits me, punches me in the face. I fall back against the wall. I could feel the memory now, vivid and terrible. We fight. I'm trying to defend myself, but he's bigger than me, stronger. He keeps hitting me. Jake, what happens next? I don't know. Everything goes dark. I wake up and I'm in my truck. It's night. I'm driving, but I don't know where I'm going. My head hurts so bad. There's blood on my face. I can't think straight. Where do you drive to? I don't know. I just drive. It's raining. The roads are slick. I can't see clearly. My vision keeps blurring. I know I should stop, but I can't figure out where I am. Do you crash? I don't remember crashing. I just remember stopping, getting out of the truck, walking. It's cold and wet, and I'm so confused. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. Dr. Brennan's voice pulled me back. I'm going to count to 5, and when I reach 5, you'll wake up feeling calm and relaxed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I opened my eyes. Back in his office, my face wet with tears. I didn't remember crying crying. Did I say something? I asked. He played back the recording of the session, listening to my own voice describe the fight with Austin, the confused drive, the crash. It felt both true and impossible. Detective Hansen came to the house that evening after Dr. Brennan sent him the recording. He listened to it twice, his expression grim. If what you said under hypnosis is accurate, your brother assaulted you severely enough to cause memory loss and confusion. You crashed your truck trying to drive away. That's assault, possibly attempted murder. Emma was furious. We need to find Austin. He needs to answer for what he did. I've got APBS out in 3 states, Detective Hansen said. We'll find him. They found Austin 3 days later in a motel in Idaho, drunk and broke. Portland PD brought him back in handcuffs. I watched through the one-way glass as Detective Hansen interrogated him. Austin looked like an older, rougher version of me. Same basic features, but worn down by hard living. Why'd you do it, Austin? Detective Hansen asked. Why'd you beat up your brother and leave him to die? Austin laughed bitterly. He wasn't supposed to disappear. I just wanted to rough him up a little, make him understand he needed to share the company, but he fell and hit his head on the corner of my coffee table hard. I thought I'd killed him. So what did you do? I panicked, dragged him out to his truck, figured I'd drive him to a hospital and make up some story. But when I was putting him in the driver's seat, he came too, started fighting me, confused and aggressive. So I just left, got in my car and drove away. Figured he'd drive himself to a hospital once he calmed down. Instead, he crashed and wandered off with severe head trauma. Austin put his head in his hands. I didn't know that would happen. I've been living with the guilt for 3 months, thinking I killed him. When I heard he was alive, I didn't know whether to be relieved or terrified. Detective Hansen stood up. Austin Morrison, you're under arrest for assault and reckless endangerment. You have the right to remain silent. I watched them take him away. This brother I didn't remember who'd nearly killed me over money and resentment. The mystery was solved, but I didn't feel any better. That night, Emma and I sat on the couch after the kids went to bed. She'd opened a bottle of wine, something she said we used to do every Friday night. Do you think your memories will come back now that we know what happened? She asked. Dr. Brennan says maybe. Sometimes when people understand the source of their trauma, the memories can start to return, but there's no guarantee. She sipped her wine. And if they don't, what then? I looked at her. This woman who was technically my wife, but felt like someone I just met. I don't know. I'm trying, Emma. I really am. But I can't force myself to remember a life I don't have any connection to. I know and I appreciate that you're trying. She set down her wine glass. The kids asked me if you're going to leave again. They're scared you'll disappear. I'm not going anywhere. Even if I don't remember being their father, I can learn to be one now. It'll just be different than before. Emma nodded, tears in her eyes. Different is okay. Different is better than gone. Over the following months, I slowly built a new relationship with this family that was supposedly mine. Sophie taught me about her favorite books. Lucas showed me how to play his video games. Emma and I went to Coos therapy to figure out how to be married when one person couldn't remember the marriage. I went back to work at Morrison Construction, though the employees treated me like a stranger who happened to look like their old boss. Some memories started to come back in fragments. A flash of teaching Sophie to ride her bike. A brief image of Emma and me at our wedding. Lucas's first words, but they were scattered and unreliable, like pieces of someone else's life. Dr. Kwan said this was progress, that my brain was slowly allowing me access to blocked memories. Dr. Brennan said it would take time and patience. 6 months after I returned to Portland, Austin was sentenced to 3 years in prison for assault. Emma and I attended the hearing. When he looked at me from the defense table, he mouthed, "I'm sorry." I nodded. I didn't remember him as my brother, but I understood that his actions, born from jealousy and addiction, had destroyed both our lives. Life settled into a new normal. I was Jake Morrison, husband to Emma, father to Sophie and Lucas, owner of Morrison Construction.